The goal of this show is to help you break in and thrive in advertising, and we do that every single week by sharing the stories and advice of those rocking it on the other side. We also share advertising news you need to know in 60 seconds or less. That's on our LinkedIn every day. Follow us there for ad news unlike anything else you've ever seen before. Today, we are learning from a legend in this industry, a Hall of Famer. We sit down with the icon, Susan Credle, who today is the Global Creative Advisor at IPG. We're going to trace her journey from receptionist at BBDO to shaping culture-defining platforms like FCB's Never Finished. And she's also going to talk about the brands she's worked on over the past couple decades, from creating the M&M's characters to helping launch Singular Wireless, and why true leadership is about creating great people just as much as great work. She's going to open up about the culture, resilience, getting into a new city, starting from scratch in this industry, and what she would have done differently. I'll give you a quick lesson right here. The right environment, she says, is more important than chasing titles or money. So this is new advice I haven't heard in 500 episodes, and there's much more to learn from. Now on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast, and as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Ellie. All right, Susan Credle, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. Thanks so much for coming in. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's Thursday, so
it's Thursday.
One day away from Friday, which is one day away from another work day on Saturday, because that's the business.
That's the business. I was going to ask you, what do you like to do outside of advertising when you're not working?
Oh, yeah, it's interesting. I like to eat and drink with friends.
Okay.
So that's...
Are you going out to restaurants? Are you guys doing dinner parties? What's the situation?
Well, I think tonight, somebody just told me that you can get raw steaks from Capitol Grill. So before I go back up to the country, I'm going to get a porterhouse and a filet, and I'm going to call my neighbors and their dogs. And if it all works out, I'll be drinking really good red wine and eating great steak and watching dogs get really happy.
Interesting. So Capitol Grill, you could buy the steaks there. And how are you cooking steaks?
Rare. On a grill.
Really?
Yeah.
What type of grill?
I don't know.
Okay.
One that has
I know
a
some
lid.
people have like the big green eggs and stuff. That's a whole different...
It's not a green egg. It's just a good old traditional...
Mm-hmm. Gas or charcoal?
Gas. Well, we have the Weber charcoal that we bring out when we want to go really old school.
Yeah. Different flavor profile.
It's delicious.
Yes. Well, that sounds like a fun. So eating, drinking, friends, dogs.
Yeah. Golf.
Golfing?
Yeah, golf. But I don't keep score. The way I keep score is how many balls I lose. That's my score. And I'm down to, I haven't lost over 2 balls.
That's fantastic.
And 18 holes.
That's fantastic.
So that's my score, is don't lose two balls.
I love it.
But I do have some cheap balls in case we have to go over water.
I like the red ones. I get the red matte golf balls, so I can't lose them.
Or at least you know that's yours.
Yeah, I know it's mine, and I can find them easier. And I have to do the cart because
the cart.
Yeah, I'm more enjoyable. I'm only gone through 9 holes too.
Okay. But you're playing.
Yeah, I'm a beginner for sure.
Are you getting your club game worked out? Do you know which clubs?
No.
Because that starts to get really exciting when you actually make I'm going to grab. Yeah, I think I started doing that about a year ago, and it's really interesting.
Getting it re-gripped and length.
No, or just knowing that it's if I'm where I am to the hole, am I going to go with a 7-iron.
Oh, right.
When I first went out, I was like, what are these numbers and what do they mean?
I still double check. I have a pretty good inkling of which club to use, but I double check with whoever I'm golfing with. I'm like, what are you hitting here? Is it 75%? Are you going to max effort on that?
Well, it's just so weird that the same swing with a different club goes a different way. That's just fascinating to me.
For sure.
So, but I enjoy it, and I'm not good. I play golf a little bit more like field hockey.
Mm-hmm.
It goes there, you walk to it, it goes there. But I find that my husband hits it really far away, and by the time he finds his ball, I'm up to the green.
Okay, so if it was a race, you'd be...
I play time. I mean, I keep time on the
Okay.
course.
Different measurement.
Yeah, another way is like, don't
Yes.
get behind.
I like it.
Yeah. So, all right. That's enough about golf. And
Golf,
then there's pickleball.
we're not getting into pickleball, dude. I cannot.
It's really fun.
I'm not in on the pickleball trend one day.
You will. You will be.
I see it everywhere.
Yeah.
That's an interesting brand case study as well.
Named after a dog.
Really?
Yeah, Pickle was the name of the guy's dog.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
But it's also come like super popular in the US recently.
Yeah. Well, what I like about it is that people at different athletic levels can actually play together.
Like a badminton.
A little bit.
Like
a little more fun than I don't like. Badminton's weird.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay.
Anyways, advertising.
Yes.
This whole show is to talk about you, where you're at today, how you got here, and your best advice for the next generation.
Okay.
I might throw in some fun little segments, some other questions along the way, but essentially you are industry icon. Like, I wanted you on this show for a long time, so this means a lot that you're here.
Well, thanks.
And I think our listeners, this is a really good opportunity to get inside your brain and you to speak to them, because they're trying to get their first job. Maybe they're a couple years into their advertising agency experience, so they want some tips and tricks.
Okay.
So really quick, it doesn't have to be quick, but where are you at today? What is your title? Global Creative Advisor to IPG. What does that mean? Give us the rundown.
Well, it's interesting because I spent about 9 years. I think I joined FCB in 2016 as the Global Chief Creative Officer. And people said, so, I remember actually when I joined, or I took the job, Carter Murray, who was an incredible partner in crime as we, took on FCB.
Yeah.
There were a lot of articles at that time about that there's no need for a global CCO, which is really
interesting,
disturbing when you've just taken a job as the global CCO. And what I told the reporters, I said, I think you need to be careful because we might all define what we do differently. So for me, when I took the job at FCB, I felt like the major brand that I worked for was FCB.
Right.
So I thought my job as the global CCO was to define a culture that helped us get to better creative more often, faster.
Mm-hmm.
So I really was much more about systems and, how do we put language into the company? The line "never finished" came from two things. One, when I got there, FCB, the logo had a cut in the B. And I was like, what is this? What does this mean? And they were like, well, it means that the global FCB agent company is nothing without the local agency. So the B was to give room to the local agency name.
Oh, I like that.
I didn't so much because I thought it's rational. But as I kept looking at that cut of the B, I was like, it's not finished. And I was like, what a beautiful summation of everything that we do in this industry and maybe in life. And I thought back about the campaigns, the work that I was most proud of in my career, and that they were never finished ideas. It wasn't an ad that won an award. It wasn't a moment in time. It was big thinking that was never finished and that other people could work on, that the idea would sustain itself over time. So, and then I thought, FCB is the oldest advertising agency in America. I think it's 150 plus years old.
Wow.
And as I was seeing all these agencies lose their agency, basically,
right.
I was like, maybe that's a declaration FCB should make, is that this agency is going to be never finished. And what do we have to do so that this agency remains in the industry, which, is, it's progress. It's understanding that what was designed yesterday may not be the design of tomorrow. And so that's where Never Finished came from.
Where were you at when you came up with that idea? How did that hit you?
In a diner in Millbrook.
I love that.
Yeah. Working, just looking at it and thinking, what happened was me thinking about what kind of work do I wish people experience in their career, so that when they look back, they go, that was meaningful. Mm-hmm. And the things in my career that popped up in my head were like, oh, They weren't just award-winning. They were never finished. And the things that were the most heartbreaking for me were campaigns and ideas that were finished.
Interesting.
It's big work. It's like going to a funeral when the work ceases to exist. It's sad.
Absolutely. And I like how you told the reporter, like, be careful, like, defining it, because definitions can be different. Because my perspective, if you asked me before we started talking, I would have thought the CCO is overseeing all the creative work, or like they're managing local CCOs.
Yeah, which I am so against.
Which is not possible, right?
Well, it's also damaging.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a CCO of an agency, you should have agency. Autonomy is one of the giving people autonomy gets the best out of them.
Mm-hmm.
I've been talking to some creatives lately, and I said, when you're in total control, when the buck stops with you, how much harder do you work and how much better is the work? And they're like, there's no comparison. And I said, versus when you have to show it to your boss, what's that experience like? It's terrible. You're trying to guess what the boss wants.
Right.
So my feeling is that if I've hired CCOs to run companies, why would they need to be overseen? So to me, a global CCO, and I would say even at the local level, a CCO, if you can do that with your ECDs, give them autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling someone the other day, I said at some point, these are leadership positions, at some point you have to transition from making great work to making great people.
Yeah.
And I think the CCO level job is about great people, or creating a culture where great work can be made.
I'm curious. So the brand platform of Never Finish you created, did you have at FCB at the time like a creative ranking, a creative scale? Like, because language can vary.
Yeah, so we also did that.
Yeah.
And we call it the 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
And I call it a benchmarking tool versus, a ranking. It's just a tool to remind us what kind of work we think we want to do on our best day. And to me, because of the never finished line, my feeling was that the kind of work we wanted to do on our best day would be timely and timeless, and to hold those two things together. So we have this 4, 5, 6 scale. The 1 is damaging, and today, I think we're seeing a lot of brands walk into damaging work.
Yeah, the Sydney Sweeney jeans.
Yeah,
damaging.
Yeah,
I would say
Elf just did something that didn't work out so well. There are a lot of things that we need to check ourselves, about, and it doesn't mean playing it safe, but it's like really look at work and go, where I just got blindsided by a piece of work that we showed to a client, and their feedback, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even see that. And you're right, we cannot do that. There's just so much out in the world right now, and because everybody has a microphone, you used to get some letters to the CEO of the company would get some, I don't like what you did in your soap ad. And it's like, okay, send them some soap and that'll quiet down. That's not how it works
now everybody
today.
It can go viral very quickly.
Yeah. So anyways, but I had not experienced sort of a benchmarking tool before, but when I went to Leo Burnett, they have the 7+ scale that Michael Conrad designed.
Okay.
And at first I was like, what? We're ranking ideas with numbers. And what I realized is it made a much richer conversation about the work. It went from I like it to or I don't like it to, is this damaging? Is this invisible? Is this going to get noticed and that's the end of it? Or is it provocative? Does it make me lean in? Does it do something that I want to tell somebody about or share? And then we added, can it hold a co-creation idea? Because I believe everybody today is a creative. Like we said, has a microphone. So if we have a provocative idea, can we add a co-creation moment to it so that people can play, it becomes their idea or whatever? And then the final one is it a never finished idea, which is really just our FCB's way of saying a big platform idea. Mm-hmm. And we realized, and before we made this a part of our agency, I went to most of the CCOs of the agencies around the world
Yep.
and sort of shared what I was thinking. And did they agree, or were they push the language, would they push things? And we tweaked it together.
Great.
So everybody had some ownership into it. So instead of me doing this moment of here's what we're going to do, it was kind of like, are you into this? Would this help?
Yeah.
And, it took us about 6 months and we still use it, or they still use it today.
Well, I heard AO, Andres Ordonez, talking about Never Finished recently when he judged our Crowbar Awards. So it definitely lasted. I can get into I'm very interested in the internal communications of agencies.
Yeah.
I did that a little bit. And how did you get everybody to buy into it? And that's a whole other conversation because you essentially have to do a campaign.
Well, Never Finished was hilarious because people were like, yeah, we're never finished. We work all weekend.
I can see that.
We can never get the brief solved. The client can't make a decision. I'm like, and I looked at Card and I'm like, is this going to work? There's a lot of blowback. And then we started putting on merch and people started wearing it. And, a few people were in bars in Chicago and people were saying, where'd you get that cool sweatshirt? And then we started painting it on the walls and it became, we and this is something that I think is really important in our industry is that taglines have to be padded with meaning.
Yes.
And so Never Finished, when we first, shared it, I wouldn't say a lot of people loved it. And today it's in every, almost every article, anything that, it becomes part of our PR that adds up and brands us.
Totally.
So you can't give up on, lines just because you haven't fed them enough to have them hold meaning.
Yeah, the context around it, the padding, I like how you mentioned that. And then people get the understanding, people buy in, and then it becomes a part of the culture. You said before, I think we started recording, that was one of your favorite brands to work on was FCB, along with 2 others. Which were the other 2?
Well, I think my first one was M&M's, and it was I didn't know it was such a gift. My partner, Steve Rudder, and I at the time, we were kind of on the bottom of the talent world at BBDO. There were superstars that worked on Pepsi and were doing all the Michael Jackson work and everything. And, we were doing fine, but, working on smaller projects. And M&M's came along and our boss, Charlie Meismer, said, this can be your account. And talk about autonomy. I was like, what?
Your account.
Your account.
And you are, at this point, what level, what title?
And just a copywriter and art director.
Gotcha.
Maybe, I don't even remember if we had ACDs and CDs or whatever.
Yes.
And we weren't thrilled because it was kind of a child's brand at the time. And that's why a lot of people passed on it. And we went out to Mars and met Paul Michaels, who was the CMO at the time, and chatting with him that first day. I remember Steve and I were driving back to New York City. I was like, do not tell anybody how amazing this guy is. I was like, it's going to be phenomenal. And it was an amazing, I think we started working on it in 1996 and till 2009 when I left the agency.
Wow.
And it was phenomenal. And we didn't come in with an ad. We came in with an idea, which is this comedic ensemble where each of the characters follows a stereotypical comedic ensemble role. And I remember Paul said, Susan, I don't think we have enough money to develop 2 characters. I don't think we can do 6. And I remember Steve and I, we said, yeah, but over 10 years. And there's that never finished idea of how long can your idea last?
Wow.
And the fact that we said over 10 years, and we all kind of laughed because it sounded very, silly at the time. And, I look around now 25 years later or more, and I see all the, stores around the world, the merchandise that we created at the beginning.
Gosh. Times Square, they have I think there's an ad that is always running.
A lot of them are animations that we did 20 years ago.
I mean, to think that big, like, I just don't know. Like, I would love to see, like, for our listeners, like, think bigger, right? Like, think 10 years, because I think we always think, like, I mean, at least my
We think
generation.
bigger and a more expensive ad. It's like, that's not bigger. Bigger is visionary.
Yes.
And if we're talking about threats to AI, where I don't think AI can get right now is visionary.
Yes.
To go, because I remember the next comment out of our discussion when Paul said we don't have enough money to develop 6 characters, the next conversation was, well, we don't have to do it in TV. I said, we can do it in merchandising, licensing. And he's like, what? And I was like, we'll develop the characters and we'll work with the licensees. Like, we'll meet with t-shirt companies and talk to them about how Yellow's character would probably be in the pocket of the t-shirt upside down with just his butt sticking out. Red would have some, asshole commentary, sorry, but some kind of jerky commentary, or wise ass sort of statement.
Yeah.
And because we knew what the characters were, who they were, we could start developing them through merchandise. And we were like, maybe they'll be in the airports.
Right.
And I said, and if we get this right, people will start to have a favorite character, not just a favorite color.
Mm-hmm.
Because they'll be attracted to the emotions of these flawed characters. But that's what we were talking about Times Square before it was ever an idea, before Times Square was even an idea of like, could we actually do this?
Right. And so for that, then, like, because I think just Gen Z is thinking about the next like 3 months from now, like, or like
in life.
Exactly. Like, and that's something that I fell victim to as well. It's like, well, this job might not last a full year. I'm looking at my next thing. It's just, even just for your own careers, thinking larger and having that vision, implementing it to a campaign is a whole different story, which is a good reminder to us.
Yeah, I think I was telling somebody, I said, maybe we should stop saying that we're creatives because everybody's a creative. Maybe we should move to we're builders. We build big ideas. We build brands. We build visionary futures. Now, the only way this works is that, number one, we have got to stop thinking that power and money equal happiness.
I like that.
We have been fed a false narrative that power and money equal happiness versus being a part of something, building something. I mean, I think about what you all are doing here with Breaking and Entering. It's fun, to see you a year later going, so how's it going? Have you shut your doors yet? Have you not? And you get looked at you, you're grinning because you're building something.
Yes.
And it's working versus if you were jumping around to different podcast situations or whatever and making more money, maybe getting more clicks. I don't know. Would it be as fulfilling?
Heck no.
And fulfilling to me is far more important than the money.
Totally. I think it's, with social media, we see people flexing their dollars, or like even looking at LinkedIn, like looking at people's career progressions and looking at who's winning these awards and Lions, and like always comparing in the industry, I think is an issue too. So
yeah, I mean, I've been talking to a lot of groups lately, and I'm like, have fun. Life is short, enjoy this. I think about all the people that must go to work that really is, a drudgery job or whatever. It's like, what we get to do something really exciting. And even like we've been pulling weekends, all-nighters, the last couple of weeks on a project. And there's a part of me that I'm like, I can't believe that I've had to give up all my summer weekends, whatever. And then I was like, Susan, are you having fun? And I'm like, yeah, I am actually. Are you enjoying creating, nothing, something out of nothing but a piece of paper? Yeah, I am. Do you enjoy the people you're working with, and is it exciting? It's like, yeah, it is. It's like, that's priceless. That's worth a lot. Totally. And we forget that. And it's another reason, we were talking about this earlier, why I believe agency cultures are so important, because you feel a part of something. And I was talking to someone last night about the importance of people feeling affiliated with something.
Yeah, like a community of some sort.
Yeah, and so if we don't build community, then we're all just generic holes for people to sit in or be in.
Mm-hmm.
And then, why do you want to be here more than 3 years? Versus this guy, he's working for an agency that has a lot of culture. And he said to me last night, he said, I usually by about 5.5 years get bored and move on, jump ship. And, he said, and I'm at that 6-year mark here. And I'm getting a lot of nice calls for jobs. And he said, but I don't want to leave because I love the thing I'm affiliated with.
Who is this person?
I'm not saying.
Why not?
No.
It's good stuff.
Nah. But I'm just saying that are you designing things that people don't want to give up because they don't think they can get it somewhere else? And it's not money, because you can get money. And that's what's happening. People jump money. I also see people jumping for the title and the money before they've actually done the job that they were doing. And
that's not good.
The runway runs out. All of a sudden, people are like, you didn't spend enough time learning this to be able to teach it, to be able to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people that they work themselves into a position of incompetence.
Who is your mentor early on in your career? You have to have somebody to talk to, right? Like,
it was lonely.
School of Hard Knocks.
I would say that my professor at UNC, John Sweeney.
John Sweeney.
You know John?
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's still going there.
He just retired last year.
I love UNC has got a great program.
Yeah. So John was always there for me. To be vulnerable, and so John was probably the person that I felt he had no agenda with me.
Yeah.
So I would say he was a huge mentor through college, and through my career. I mean, we're still in touch.
That's
obviously.
Fantastic.
And his wife Liz, Paradise High. And then I would say, not necessarily a mentor, but I learned so much from him, was this guy, Charlie Meismer.
Mm-hmm.
And he was my creative director for most of my career.
At BBDO?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And it was funny because it's kind of sad because I don't think people have this opportunity anymore, but I was a secretary in the creative department. And I chose a group to be a secretary, and that was all art directors, because I thought, well, maybe if they need a writer, I could just sort of say, I'll help write.
This is your break-in story, correct?
Well, no, a little bit. It goes further back. The break-in story. Okay. The break-in story goes.
Do we want to back
it up? Sure. It's and it actually is like, I love New York City.
Yeah.
I'm from the Carolinas. I came to New York City when I was 16, and I was physically electrified. I can't explain it. There was like electricity running through my body. I was like, as soon as I'm finished with college, I'm going back to New York. And so I chose the city first. And I think this is advice for young people. And it's going to sound weird.
Bring it.
Start your career in a place you love. Not an agency, a physical, the state, the city. Go to the place you love.
I like that.
And definitely don't go to a place you don't love.
Okay, that's fair.
Even if it's but I love the agency. Do not. It doesn't work.
It just so happened that the place that you love is also a place, a hub for advertising.
Sure.
So that also worked out. Now, I might love San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been there.
I've heard it's beautiful. I've been to the airport.
I could not name one ad agency based in San Diego.
But I bet you, if you really fell in love with San Diego and said, my heart, my body wants to be here, you would find an agency. And by the way, you might make an agency.
Boom.
I think about Jeff Goodby.
Mm-hmm.
I think about Dan Wyden. Mm-hmm. I mean, there wasn't a lot going on in Portland except for a guy named Phil Knight. And
yeah.
So, you can make it. But I really do believe place matters.
For sure.
That if you love where you are, and maybe you want to be near family, maybe you want to be far away from family, but choose the place first.
This episode is brought to you in part by Working Smarter, a podcast about AI and modern work from Dropbox. AI is in the news a lot these days, and we're all trying to make sense of how it will change our lives, our relationships, and of course, the way we work. And that's where Working Smarter comes in. In each episode, Working Smarter talks to real people who are actually using these tools today to talk about what it really looks like to work with AI. As somebody that's trying to break into advertising, or if you're working in advertising and marketing, they have many stories that you can learn from. But one specifically, somebody named Wayne, the head of marketing for a small batch whiskey distillery. Wayne has a small team, and they're competing against big brands with big budgets, but AI is helping them punch way above their weight. Working Smarter, the show goes beyond the headlines and shows how AI can help you do more of what you do best so that you can work smarter too. Listen to Working Smarter wherever you get your podcasts or visit workingsmarter.ai.
So anyways, I chose New York City, and I knew I wanted to be in advertising, and somebody said, go to the magazine stands. I'm like, what's a magazine stand? I've never seen magazine stands in the Carolinas. And they were like, go to these magazine stands, look for anything that says the word advertising, ad, whatever on it. Those are called trade publications. I'm like, okay, trade publications. And read them and figure out, what you want to do next. Well, I arrived in June, and BBDO was on the cover of all the trade magazines as Agency of the Year. And I was like, well, that's where I'll go.
Perfect.
Because my mom had always said, be lower in the best place than higher in the worst place.
Love that.
Especially when you're starting, because you'll learn all the good stuff, the good habits, not the bad, having to undo bad habits.
When you read that magazine, you were in New York. Did you just move there? Or were you visiting?
No, I
showed up.
I took a one-way plane trip.
No job lined up.
No job.
Any interviews lined up?
No.
I love that.
I had $400 for my graduation present and rent for a studio that I was sharing.
Please tell me.
It was $900 a month, which today doesn't sound like a lot, but back then, it's 1985.
Yeah.
I'd never made $400 in a year, and I was like, next month I have to come up with $450. So I went to BBDO and met. It's like, can I meet with HR? Whoever hires people. And so I met with this woman. She goes, so what can you do? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, can you type? I'm like, no, Mom, not real fast. She's like, well, to be a secretary or to interview for a secretary, you have to type 60 words a minute with no mistakes. I'm like, no, I can't do that.
You said that?
No, I couldn't. And then she said, well, we do have an opening for someone to give the receptionist their bathroom breaks.
Stop it.
And I was like, I can do that. And this was back when the receptionist actually had, you had to, you had to kind of be able to put someone on hold, dial an extension, forward it to something. So it wasn't just completely brainless. There was a little bit of a job to learn, but they wouldn't let me be a receptionist permanently. I just got to go around and give people 10-minute breaks.
Okay.
And it turned, and I made $11,500 a year was with the salary. It's not a lot of money.
What's the monthly breakdown on that?
I know it's like $300 a paycheck.
12,000 a year?
$11,500.
$11,500.
Or $11,500.
Yeah.
And I said, so I asked the woman, I was like, can you live on that? And she goes, yeah, probably. I was like, oh, okay, then yeah, let's do this. So that's how I started. It turned out to be brilliant because it's
just like $958 a month.
Before taxes.
Yeah.
I think my paycheck was $335 every 2 weeks. And rent
covers rent?
Rent was $450.
Got it.
So yeah, and then I knew all the restaurants that at happy hour had you could get a cocktail for $2, and they had hot hors d'oeuvres. So that would be dinner.
I see your passion for food and drink already.
Yeah, it just started really early.
Yes.
Well, you got to eat.
And New York too.
But I thought that was really smart. We would go to fancy hotels, order a cocktail, and wait for the hot free hors d'oeuvres to come out, and then we would eat some quiche.
Love quiche.
And then usually a guy would buy us another round of drinks.
Perfect.
So for $2, we got a little buzz and a little full belly. And then I taught a dance class at an aerobics studio.
Got a side hustle up.
So I had two. Oh, and I was a coat check girl at the Post House, which is a really nice steakhouse.
Did you get some perks there? Did you get a free steak every once in a while?
Yeah, that was fun because, one, the tips were really good. We were supposed to turn them in. We were supposed to only take $35. But when you get a $50 tip for hanging someone's coat, the house isn't getting it. I'm getting it.
You're getting that, for sure.
So anyways, I made, it was decent money, the tip thing.
You made it work.
And then I coat checked 2 days a week. And so they wouldn't give you steak, but you could get, chicken or fish or whatever. And it was delicious.
Great.
And then the bartender was always, here we go again, the bartender, but he was teaching me about scotch and stuff. So we would
taste test.
Yeah. So we'd have, some tastings. And it was funny because years later, I was married, and I think I don't know if it was the first time I got a bonus or I got a raise or something, but I was doing well. And Joe's like, where do you want to go to celebrate? And I was like, I want to go back to the Post House.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to order really good wine and a steak, and I want to pay for it, versus, sitting in the coat check room.
For sure.
So we go, we walk in, and it's the Post House is part of the union, so the wait staff didn't turn over very often. And all these waiters were like looking at me and then going back and looking at me and going back and buzzing and talking. And they thought I was famous.
That's incredible.
Because they recognized me,
right.
but they didn't know where from. And I said, excuse me. And they're like, we're not supposed to ask this, but we can't place. We know you, but we can't place who you are. And we're like, I'm the coat check girl. And they were like, oh my God, we thought you were like some celebrity. And I'm like, no, I'm just the coat check girl coming back to say, I think I made it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What and how much later in your career was that moment?
Probably 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And so getting back to the receptionist thing, it was actually a brilliant job because I didn't get pegged as something because nobody knew.
I was moving around.
I was just moving around. And so I was a little creative with who I was. I said I was an intern for the summer.
Smart. So you lied. Okay.
I just took some creative license. I was interning. I mean, I wasn't doing much. And I kind of got, and then I did something that I don't know why I did this, but I set up informative interviews with all the heads of the departments.
Nice.
So I set up, I set up an informative interview with the head of media, the head of production, the head of research, the head of creative, Phil Dusenberry, head of media. Yeah. So all of those people. So I, had an hour review. Well, what happened was all of a sudden I'm the bathroom break receptionist walking around, half the time not sitting at a desk. And then I'm seeing all these, the heads of department going, hey, Susan, hey, Susan, hey, Susan. Yeah. And people are like, who is she and why did they know her?
It's so funny.
And then I started feeling affiliated with the company.
Yeah.
And back then, then I looked and I was like, all right, the creative department seems to have the reins in this company. So I think that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
After I did all the interviewing of all the heads of the department.
And did you just place, how did that work? Did you have to get approvals or did you have access to their schedules and stuff?
I just called them and said, I'm an intern. I'm here for the summer and I'd like to do an informative interview with you. And by the way, I'm here today. We say yes. Senior people say yes to a lot of things because this is not high pressure. Talking to an intern about what you do is a fun hour. It's not like So, and that's one of the things I'd encourage your viewers and listeners is that don't be afraid to tap senior people to ask for help or advice. Mm-hmm. Most of us like to do it. It makes us feel good. So I found a desk, like I was saying, that needed a secretary, and they were mostly art directors. And so I took that job. First I had to learn to type 60 words a minute. So while I was giving receptionists their bathroom breaks, I practiced typing. So I got my typing skills up, which sounds bizarre now with computers because everybody knows how to type. But back then, like creatives didn't know how to type. Like they did not type. A lot of them did not type.
Yeah.
So you had to do their storyboards and all that. Well, what a great way to learn is that I'm typing up all their ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of going to school. And then I asked the woman I was working for directly, I asked her if there was any way I could sit in on some meetings and just listen and just sort of be a sponge. And she was amazing and said, absolutely. And then I worked overtime with other creative directors, typing their scripts. So I met a lot of the creatives that were, pitching and, getting ready for their meetings. And one of those was Charlie Meismer. And I remember we were typing HBO. I was typing HBO scripts and he'd be like, say this, do this. I'm like, okay, this. And we got, to know each other. And turns out he went to North Carolina to Chapel Hill.
Nice.
Just for one semester, because then he got in a fight and had to leave because it was, well, I think he wanted to leave. It was a little too, he was very, very much of an activist, and I'm not sure Chapel Hill was at the level of activism that he.
But you had a shared commonality.
Exactly. And he just said, hey, kid, if I can ever do anything for you, let me know.
You're like, actually, yes.
Well, what happened was the woman I was working for went to a different agency and a new person came in. And I said, I had this kind of understanding that I wanted to be a writer. And the creative director that left, that you're taking her place, was helping me, was not saying that I was a secretary. I'm on a journey. And this person came back and said, yeah, I talked to the ECD and he really doesn't want any secretaries to be promoted into any other positions because then everybody will want to be promoted. I was like, oh, that's a deal breaker for me. I didn't tell her that. And I found Charlie in a rainstorm coming into work. And I said, when you said, you'd help me, he said, I know you're looking for a junior writer. And 2 people convinced me to put my portfolio in with the others. And I said, it's not good. And I said, there are going to be other portfolios that are much better. But I said, if you hire me, I'll work harder than anybody you've ever, had in your group. And I will learn and I will try to be my best. And he goes, okay. And I remember I went to Grand Central Station with another secretary who was amazing and fun, made the job fun. And we were at Grand Central eating steak tartare and drinking Bloody Marys for lunch because it wasn't very hard to be a secretary. and food and drink, geez, this is terrible. At least I'm consistent.
Yeah, you are.
And I came back to my desk and there was a little note and it said, "You're hired, kid."
That's fantastic.
That's the beginning.
So did you have a portfolio when you did that, or did you like create one?
Yeah, I created one. It was terrible.
And you were honest. You mentioned this.
Yeah, and and I always said that I made BBDO my university. So like I studied who were the best creatives and made them sort of. We talked about mentorship, but sort of use them as professors, So I would take in work and go, is this good? Do you like this? Is this, yeah, but it wasn't anything that I wouldn't have gotten a job on the portfolio, but what I did get it on is he knew me. We had a shared, we'd found a shared thing. I worked overtime, typing scripts and being as present as I could be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that's how it started.
Incredible. How long did that journey from secretary to junior copywriter?
I feel like it was about a year. And what happened was I was already starting to do it because when I had this hypothesis that if there were a bunch of art directors that didn't have writers, maybe I could write for them. And that I did start doing that. It was becoming a little cumbersome because they were like, oh, the client bought your print ad, but you have to go to the shoot. And I'm like, yeah, but I got to cover this desk as a secretary.
Really?
So I was kind of 1 foot in junior copywriter, 1 foot in secretary. But that first boss that I was working for, she was allowing that journey to happen.
Right.
The person that came in and replaced her was shutting it down. So that's and for a long time I was really resentful, and then I realized, man, I owe that person so much because it was actually a kick in the butt to take more you know,
Of a risk? Like put yourself out there, would you say?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
even the risk, to just ask.
Right.
I think a lot of times we sit in our space and we forget we have the ability to move ourselves forward.
Yes.
Don't wait for someone to say, I think you're like, do it. Start doing it.
Totally. I don't know
yeah.
if you've ever. Do you know Myra Nussbaum?
Yeah.
She was my first boss.
Oh,
she brought me into this industry.
Oh, that's fun.
Into the creative side.
She's a blast.
She is a blast.
She was the first person when I joined FCB. I thought, I was like, oh, Global CCO. I think the job is going to be me flying around the world, touring these agencies and sort of being an ambassador. And Carter called me and goes, hey, we just got the opportunity to pitch Clorox. So your first job is going to be the next 2 months pitching Clorox. I'm like, oh, that doesn't look like the vision I had for this job at all. But Myra was one of, I didn't know anybody. I'm like, oh, God knows we're going to do this huge pitch for Clorox. And I don't even know where anything is in the agency, what the agencies do, where's the power, whatever. And I remember Myra and I can see us now in Oakland, California, in a hotel, conference room, just banging it out and laughing and I don't know if we were laughing because we were terrified or laughing because we were having fun, but we were laughing.
That's good.
But yeah, I enjoy her.
She told me early on, like, nobody will care about your career more than you do.
That's
so
good.
It means you need to advocate for yourself and manage up, do your own check-ins, and speak for yourself. And I love that piece of advice. It seems like you did that in that moment.
Yeah, and then
advocated for yourself.
The next time it happened, I had some art directors, my first art director, I think her name was Abby. She was so talented. But the BBDO was a tough boys culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she just felt that it wasn't the right fit for her. And so she left. But I actually owe her a lot of thanks because she was the one that said, just put your book in the junior portfolio stack. And she said, I want to work with you. And if she hadn't been encouraging, I don't know if I would have done it. So wherever you are, Abby, thank you. And then I had a couple of art director moments that were attempts, at trying to form a team, and it just didn't work. And then I met this guy, Steve Rutter, who went to he was out of Austin, Texas. He's a Texan, and we started working together, and he just was so. First of all, he had been a student of advertising, like really knew every ad, everything. I didn't know anything.
I do love those.
Yeah, I didn't know anything. I knew some ads I liked when I was growing up, but I was not a student of advertising. And I love that. He's such a kind person and a gentle person, and this career can be hard, and you can be around some pretty interesting but sometimes damaging people. And I was like, he just makes me feel mentally healthy.
Yeah.
And we worked together, I don't know, I want to say 13 years. So we were partners. And that
was at BBDO?
Yeah, at BBDO. And so I just got really lucky that we had a camaraderie, and I think we complemented each other. And then eventually, I think somebody said that Steve said, I always knew Susan was going to
rock it up.
Go to another level. Yeah. And he was dear enough to give me the room to do that.
Why do you think he said that? Like,
I don't know.
What were those indicators?
I don't know. I was feisty, It was interesting because one of the things you were asking about, like, what are your superpowers, is that I love fighting for others. Like I'm much better at protecting somebody else than protecting myself. If I see something unfair, I fight for the fairness for the person.
Yeah. Not
quite as good as being that for myself, but I found that by fighting for others, I also won.
Mm-hmm.
And so
how does that translate in advertising? Like, is that Like fighting for their ideas? Like is the like convincing the clients or convincing
Some of that,
internal politics?
Well, this is another example of like I didn't realize what was happening and it happened. And I think some of it's just being strategic and smart. So Steve and I started doing pretty well with some smaller clients and getting, some autonomy on our work. And we had a Pepsi brand that we were working on. It doesn't exist anymore, but we had done a nice campaign for them, but they needed a radio spot, and I felt very uncomfortable with radio as a medium, and it also needed to be comedic. And there was this guy sitting across from me in a cubicle, a junior writer, that I didn't think anybody was using. I didn't have a group. Steve and I didn't have a group, but we worked in a group. And it didn't seem like anybody was using him. And I was like, that guy seems really good. And so I said, hey, Jerry, I have this brief for a radio campaign. Do you want it? And he was like, okay. So he wrote this, funny campaign that I can't really quite remember. It was about a basketball personified or something. And, I said, and I told him, I said, look, if you write it, I'll sell it, hopefully I'll sell it and it's yours, whatever. So I come back, I was like, the client bought it. So congratulations. And he goes, oh, wow, this is great. And, he said, so we're going to go make it in LA because they were using a slightly celebrity talent for the voice. And I'm like, that's wonderful. And he goes, are you coming? I'm like, no. I was like, you wrote it. I mean, it's radio. You've read it to me. It's hilarious. You got the talent. Go. And word got out around the group that if you work for Susan and Steve, you get to take care of your ideas and they trust you a lot and they let you do things and they don't take your idea and take credit for it.
I like that.
And the next thing I know, people are calling going, do you have any briefs for us? And I'm like, sure. Okay, here's something. And that started snowballing. And then I remember one time these two fairly senior, and by the way, that was Jerry Graff, who I was talking about. The radio. Yeah,
no
Jerry.
Way.
Yeah.
He's the one that did the script?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
See, I was smart enough to get out of the way and let Jerry be Jerry. But somebody else comes up and they're like, can we be in your group? I'm like, we do not have a group. What is this?
So your role at the time? What
just
was
a creative director.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, working underneath.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was Charlie, then there was Dennis, there was this guy, Jimmy.
Sure.
And then we were like, so it was 1, 2, 3. We were like probably here.
Yeah.
But we were collecting accounts nobody wanted to work on. And then people wanted to work on the account. So it was self-fulfilling, and it was because we were good people and, we spotted good talent. So these fairly senior people came up and said, can we be in your group? And I'm like, we don't have a group. And they're like, you do. And I'm like, we do? And it's like, we looked around like, God, I guess we do. We have all these people that want to work with us. And at the same time, our accounts were getting bigger and more successful and sexier, so the ugly accounts were turning into swans.
Sure.
And and so it just sort of happened.
Interesting. Got it. Thank you. So yeah, because you can easily just take those ideas and go to LA and meet the celebrity talent, like with Jerry Graff, or you sent him out, and that helped his career a lot, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, he was amazing to watch soar into who he is today. He's a great talent.
Oh, for sure. And who is the CCO at for the majority of BBDO when you were there? I just love learning about the history too.
So when I got there it was a man, Phil Dusenberry.
Okay.
Phil deserves to be far more known than he is. I think I credit him with bringing the concept of entertainment into advertising. I think he really didn't see what we did as separate from great content. So even today, when people talk about branded content, I bristle because Phil would have said all content, everything we do is content. Everything we do is entertainment.
Yeah.
He was like, make the work that sits between the content better than the content it sits between.
Like that.
So if you're on Seinfeld, you be funnier than Seinfeld. And he made advertising famous, and not Phil. He knew how to hire. He hired brilliant creatives. Their brains to work with them was just fascinating. I mean, how smart everybody was.
Yeah.
And crazy. Oh.
And crazy.
Yeah. But Phil, I remember one time I was just starting as a writer, and Phil, it was like 9:00 at night, and Phil came by and he goes, "Hey, Susan," he talked like this. He was like, "Hey, Susan, what are you doing?" And I was so excited because I was looking at the One Club annual.
Nice. Good. That's a good moment.
And I'm like 9:00 at night studying the One Club. And I was like, "Oh, Phil, I'm just going through and looking at all the award-winning work and really absorbing, what it is." "Susan, those ads have already been made. I would suggest you go out and live a little life. Go see a movie, go read a book, go to a record store, go to the museum, just go watch the freaky people that walk around New York City. Don't look at those ads. They're done. Move forward." And I was just like, okay, that was what great advice. And I still think it's right to use, award-winning work as when you're learning, but at some point you got to let go and not look back, but look forward.
Totally.
And that was great advice. So Phil was the first CCO. He wrote the Natural, the film The Natural with Robert Redford.
Wow.
Which just proves that he didn't see a line between what the possibilities of entertainment and advertising and entertainment at large.
I like that advice, though. I think early on, like college student, recent grad, you do need to have that taste. And like, what are some of the best campaigns of all time? Who's winning the Cannes Lion Awards?
Yeah.
Then also balance it out with having a life.
Well, but it wasn't about having a life. He considered all of that work.
Oh,
that was work.
I like
Culture.
That's a different framework.
Absorbing culture, being in the culture, letting weird things collide to come up with a better idea, a newer idea, a fresher idea. No, he considered absorbing culture as part of the job.
At Havas, they gave like credits for like museum passes and go out and like you could submit, you get a credit for whatever experience that you want in Chicago, which I thought was really great.
Yeah, but it's not taking a break. No. And that's what's so cool about this business is, at one point I asked my tax guy early on, I said, "Can I just write off my life? Because I think everything I do is about learning how to put it into the creative part of my job."
What did your tax
No,
say? Okay.
He said pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And he had worked for the IRS.
Okay.
And I was like, what does that mean? He goes, if you get hoggish about your taking, these breaks, write-offs, you'll get slaughtered. He said, just be a fat little pig. Don't get too greedy.
Got it.
And I was like,
I need to hit up this CPA, your tax guy.
It's a long, Judah Callis was his name. I can't believe I've remembered that. Yeah, but that, and actually that advice has stayed with me in everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
And especially,
too greedy.
Huh?
What does that mean? So don't get too greedy. Don't fly too
I
close.
tell it to like, I think creatives are very greedy. They want more and more and more. They want to win more awards. They want to have more briefs. They want to, and I think that it's actually, I've turned it into a generosity line, which is that if we're fat little pigs and share all the goods, we're going to stay fat little happy pigs. If we try to hoard or not share or not let anybody else get better, we get really hoggish.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the outcome, is it doesn't end well.
Yeah.
And you don't feel great either. So
totally. So if you're talking to people trying to break into the business today in 2025, like what's your advice to them? Should they build a portfolio? Should they still go to a large creative agency or any creative agency? You said already pick the city, which I think is cool. I love that advice. But what else are you giving? They identified New York City, creative advertising.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Then I would say, I do say, is look at agencies through the work that they do. And is it the kind of work you want to do? because there's lots of, tastes and levels. And, also look at the brands they have.
Yeah.
Are these the brands that you would be passionate about? So I would look at the kind of work they're making,
Yep.
the brands that are in the house. And I also would think about what kind of people you need to be your best. Like, I identify with warrior leaders. I need leaders that can make decisions, know what they want to do, or, telling everybody, we're going this way.
Mm-hmm.
I do really well, especially when I was younger, I did really well with that, whereas somebody else might go, oh, I do much better when people are, nurturing, and that they've got my back, and more like, I'm going to take care of you. We're going to make sure you're okay. I don't know if I would do well under that, the self-awareness of like, I don't think that would be good for me.
Sure.
Especially early on, I think I needed tougher leadership. So think about, what kind of leaders are good for you and try to find them. And that doesn't mean it's the easiest. Being under tough leadership is not an easy choice, but knowing me, I always wanted to be pushed.
I like that. So you know yourself, know where potentially you can fit in agency-wise.
Or what you need.
Yeah.
To be what you think you need to be at your best.
Totally. I like the warrior leader mindset too. Like, because I want to I want to be all in. I want somebody to be willing to go first and really direct us, get us pumped up, kind of like a coach of some sort.
Or, but it might be, no, I want to be with a dreamer leader. Like, I want to be around people that are just like, what if we did this? Let's try that. That might be interesting too. But I think thinking about the work you want to do, the brands you care about, the culture that you think you would excel in. And by the way, it will change over your career.
Yeah.
Like the culture of BBDO when I was starting out was really good for me. I don't know if I'd want to be in that kind of culture at this level of my career.
For sure.
I choose something different.
Yeah.
But yeah, and my advice is kind of where I started. Take a lesser job at a place that fits that criteria than a higher salary, or a bigger title at something that doesn't fit that agenda.
Yeah.
Because the money that you start off making is going to look pretty sexy. It's not that much money. Don't sacrifice your future for a slightly higher paycheck or status today, because it's not, no matter what title you're starting in, it's not very status heavy. And the salary is, in comparison to what it could be if you make the right choices early on, is not significant.
Totally. Pause right there. We got the door. Wonderful. Yes. I think that advice of like not chasing the money is super important. Like it's so, for me, it's like I compare myself to my finance friends, people going into investment banking. And I was like,
yeah, but they're going into investment banking.
Right.
And they make a lot of money. And look, a lot of people I know that made a lot of money are really, really happy. But I know a lot of people that they don't walk with a joy in their step, because of the choices they've made.
For sure. And then there's high ceiling in advertising. Okay. There's a high ceiling in advertising. And if you love it and you consistently
and by the way, I hate it every other day.
You hate it every other day?
Every other day. I'm like, what is this all about? And then I start seeing great ideas and the potential of putting something out in the world that I'd be so excited to see get out there. And I'm like, damn it, I'm back in.
You got back in. It's like
resilience is the key to this career. Is that, we used to say a long time ago, the reason we have so many award shows is because we get beaten up every day, and we just need a lot of people to say we're good, because we don't get it.
The validation.
It's just validation. Yeah. It really doesn't have much more meaning than that.
Can used to be, right? And I feel like Can has changed a little bit, but we don't have to get into that.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
That's another 2 hours there. But Susan, thank you so much for coming in, telling us your journey. The other campaign that we didn't talk about, we talked about 2 out of 3 of your some of your favorite brands. You said FCB, you said M&M's, and then the other one was Singular, right?
Yeah, we launched, BBDO launched Singular Wireless before it was ever a company or a brand. And in fact, I remember when the name came over, like 2 days before we were going down to pitch for the business, and it comes over the fax machine, and it's like, and we're all like, what's the name going to be? Because we're going to have to redesign all the work to be, because we were working with the name Nuco. And it comes out and I go, Kingular? Why is it Kingular? It sounds like some sex position or something. And they're like, no, it's singular. I'm like, not the way I look at English words. And, but that's how brand new it was. I didn't even know how to pronounce the name. And, we launched it on the Super Bowl, and the headline was 0 to Nike in one day. Is Singular went from I've never heard of it to, of course, everybody's talking about it. And we didn't really reveal we were a telecommunications company. We just said that Singular was a brand that stood for self-expression. And the ads were bizarre, and they worked. And over the next 9 years, we built Singular into the number one wireless carrier. Then Singular bought AT&T Wireless to become the biggest. So we I think, if I get this right, we became larger than Verizon. And then AT&T, the company which bizarrely had nothing to do with AT&T Wireless. That was just a name, but it wasn't the businesses were different. Then AT&T bought Singular.
Got it.
And I remember I was going to the subway. I think it was I can't remember the year. And this guy, Mark LaFar, was the CMO at the time, another amazing CMO I got to work with. And Mark called me and he said, I just got out of the board meeting and they're killing the brand Singular. And that was 9 years worth of work. And I always say we birthed it, we married it, and we buried it in 9 years. And it still hurts to think about all that work. Yeah, and I said, can we just make it the teen brand or something? Can we just keep it alive somewhere? He goes, nope, it's dead. But I think for a while we kept the spirit of what Singular was, and I think you can still feel it in the AT&T work today. I'm really excited because there's this guy, Matt Miller, who I worked with at Leo Burnett, and he was the very junior writer that wrote Mayhem for Allstate, with a lot of love from senior creative directors, whatever. But yeah, he's on AT&T now, and I think he's doing a really nice job. But I feel the DNA of Singular every once in a while come back up, and that's nice.
I like that.
But
thank you.
So those were the big ones, and they're the never finished ones. They're the ones that have a bigger story than an ad.
I like that.
So
I like that. Mayhem was great too.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story that's really fun.
Yeah.
I would just say this really quickly, but I have this rule that I think this business is so subjective. I'm wrong as much as I'm right, and it's, when you practice dialectics, two things can be right at the same time. They're just different. So I always tell the creatives, especially if I'm working on something, I'm open to what you want to do, except if I want to throw up or if I get chills. And if I get chills, you got to do it. And if I want to throw up, you can't do it. And they came in with the casting, and I said, I'm going to throw up. And so we have to talk about that. And the result was Dean getting the role.
Wow.
Which was not the actor that made me want to throw up.
Okay, I was about to say.
No, Dean was amazing. But
I want to see this initial actor.
Well, there were like 3 of them, and they were all terrifying. And it wasn't because they were bad actors. It's just we were doing central casting. And I told the team, I said, we don't need a celebrity in the role, but we need a great actor.
Right.
And Matt was, quite, the juniorest person in the room. He goes, well, and when I was writing the scripts, I was kind of hearing Dean Winters in my head. And at the time, he was just a weird character on 30 Rock. And we're like, well, let's see if he'll do it. And now he's been doing it for over 15 years, I think.
Yeah. That's never finished.
But yeah, we wrote that in 2010. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Susan, can people reach out to you just if they have any questions?
Absolutely not.
Hell no.
Hell no. What did I say earlier about us not wanting to ever talk to young people in the business? Yeah, sure. I don't know how many I'll return, but yes, you can. I'll try.
Right. Well, Susan, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.